Hi, my name's Shannon Worthman. This is my art project for holistic health. Um, so here it is. The way that I got the idea for this, it was actually very different when it started out in my brain. It came from my passion for split brain theory, which we learned about in some of the more recent units. And I actually work at Brain Balance Achievement Centers, which they do a lot of work with the brain imbalances, especially between the two hemispheres of the brain. So I know a lot about the effect that the brain can have on the body and vice versa. So I have a real passion for that. I'm really into neuroscience. So at first I kind of wanted to do my art project about that, about the split brain theory and the functions of the different hemispheres of the brain. But then I was thinking, this is a holistic health class, and looking at just the brain as a symbol for the whole being, I think is kind of more of a reductionist view. And so I decided to picture the whole being. So that's why I drew a woman sitting and meditating. And I think I still took the ideas that I had from the split brain theory about how there are different functions for each hemisphere of the brain, and I kind of turned that into a bigger picture idea of that. The split brain theory really interests me. I've kind of come to look at it as a sort of yin and yang. All the functions that the left brain has are complemented by things that the right brain has. So looking at the brain, the two halves of a whole in the brain and just in someone's being in general is what inspired me for this. And I've come to see that it's really a beautiful balance that there is between both. So, like I said, I drew this woman meditating, and if you notice, her hands are pointed down, which we learned the typical meditation pose where your hands are facing up kind of symbolizes that you're wanting to take in energy from the universe. I made a specific choice to draw her with her hands facing down, which is supposed to symbolize you taking your energy and centering it into the earth and directing it there and becoming more grounded. So that's actually a really meaningful part of this art project for me, because I want to kind of try to do that in the future. And I think that I hadn't really focused on my spiritual health until we learned more about it in this class, and I realized that spirituality and religion aren't the same thing. I've kind of had an aversion to religion since I went to a Catholic school for 5 or 6 years, and I thought the two were the same thing, and learning that they're not, I've really started to explore meditation, my spirituality. So that's also what inspired me for this, and I'd like to continue to keep exploring that part of my health in the future, since I've kind of neglected that, I feel like, since I went to Catholic school. So yeah, I still took the idea of the right and left complementary aspects of a being, and I made that division very clear. I drew the right part of my figure very colorful. I surrounded it with words, different functions, different concepts that we've learned. And then the left half is more plain. Like you see, it says linear. We learned that the left half of the being is where the ego is housed. That's where those walls come up. So the stress response is more of a function of the left half of the brain. When we were talking about the different players in a creativity team for creativity and problem solving, the judge was one of those players. That's more on this side of the being. And all of these things are complemented on the other side. This side is more artistic. That's where you feel things. That's where your intuition is. The opposite of stress, that's kind of where the relaxation part of yourself is. That's the part of your being, of your brain, that meditation tries to call or tap into is the right half of your brain, where the ego's walls are shut down. You can really explore things, listen to your inner wisdom, have an open mind, feel things, be intuitive about your health. So this is, the right half is kind of a more holistic approach. And that's the philosophies of Eastern medicine tend to be based off of the functions of a right brain dominant being, and Western medicine tends to be more left brain, left being dominant, more linear, more mathematical. It's the reductionist view that we learned about at the beginning of class that separates Western and Eastern culture. So that's what you see at first glance. Also, the next thing that I brought into this art project was chakras, which we didn't learn much about in this class, but I learned about them a little bit in a different class, and I wanted to explore them more, learn more about them, so I took this opportunity to do that. As I was learning more about them, I saw that they really related to the 7 dimensions of health and holism that we've been learning about this entire time, so I thought that that was perfect to incorporate these chakras. So chakras, they're places in the body where energy flows through along the meridians that, just like any other kind of energy, can get blocked. And so each chakra symbolizes a different level of energy and different parts of health, I believe. So starting at the top here, this is called the crown chakra. It's associated with spirituality, unity, and intelligence. So this is where I think our spiritual health kind of starts. That's where the energy originates for your spiritual health. And it's purple. Moving down, there's the third eye chakra, right in the head here. That's kind of a more indigo color. That's associated with intuition and insight. So I saw that as kind of the place where your mental understanding, wisdom, kind of all centers itself and where that can come from. The next one is the throat chakra, which is right here on your throat, and it's light blue. That one is associated with truth, expression, and communication. So that one I really think is where your social life and community health starts to play a role. Just like the 7 dimensions of holistic health, the 7 chakras are all important. If one of them is blocked, the whole body is thrown off and illness can manifest. So they're both kind of relating things there. So the next one is the heart chakra. Right in the middle, it's green. It has to do with love and trust. So I think that your family and relationship health, that dimension, has to do with that chakra. The next one is the solar plexus chakra. That one is yellow, and that has to do with power and confidence and leadership. So our service, our dimension of health that has to do with serving others, being a leader, that one I think is kind of centered right here. Energy has to flow through that. You have to pay attention to that, just like any other part of health, to really become whole. The next one is the sacral chakra. That one has to do with pleasure, sexuality, and creativity. This is kind of the center for your physical health and well-being. And so that's one of the other dimensions of health that we learned about. And the last chakra is the root chakra. That one has to do with stability, patience, and success. So I tied that into financial health and well-being that we learned about. Your kind of base, your stability. So that's where that aspect of the 7 dimensions can come in. And then the last thing that I did with this art project, that was one of my favorite things that we learned. One of the best techniques, I think, to deal with stress is positive affirmations. So I don't know if you guys can really see them. I wrote them in metallic gold over each of the chakras. So I came up with a positive affirmation for each of those in order to, focus the energy, focus on that dimension of health to really become whole. So it relates to the dimensions of health that I mentioned before, and also to the specific chakras. So the first one, the crown chakra, says, I am at peace. I think that's a really easy affirmation to remember. It's one of my favorites. The third eye chakra, the affirmation that I came up with for that one is I am calm. So your wisdom and understanding, being calm, being confident in that. The next one, the throat chakra, that has to do with social life and community. The affirmation that I came up with was I express myself freely. The heart chakra, I think I am loved, is the affirmation that I wrote with that one. I think that can be a really powerful one in times where you're not so sure, where you feel unstable in your social life. The next one for solar plexus would be I am organized. The sacral affirmation would be I create the life I want. So that has to go with your physical health, your physical abilities, your ability to create. And the last one would be I am confident, for the root chakra and for your financial freedom. So those are all of the aspects of my art project. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a little bit too. Thank you.